situations, the scenarios, causing pain is actually of benefit. For example, even though you probably can't tell, I have attempted to go to the gym, and I've been told, even though I don't have much experience in this, that when you do start lifting initially, your muscles do start tearing, but again, it's no pain, no gain. So that pain is actually good, because what will result from that is, well, hopefully gains, and hopefully better health, more strength, more agility, etc., etc. So how do you kind of reconcile the two?
Well, I mean, it's obvious that pain has a utility, and that's why, I mean, we're evolved to have pain to avoid certain things. And I mean, pain has a reason, but that doesn't mean that. I mean, that's not the kind of suffering that I'm talking about.
So just before you jump onto that kind of suffering, so you're open to the fact that certain degrees of harm and certain pains can be good for you as well.
I wouldn't necessarily say good. I say that they have their utility in creating a better life for you, but that doesn't mean that the gains that what you gain from that experience, I don't think makes life justifiable.
So let's stick with the bodybuilding example. So you'd say it has utility, but that wouldn't necessarily improve your life?
It's not that it wouldn't improve your life. It's that it's whether or not that life is worth creating in the first place, just to sort of have those gains.
Okay, so
gains from whatever small pleasures that you kind of get from that.
Okay, you're talking about the beginning, right at the beginning when you're born. I'm saying that if we take the principle of pain and harm, and an example of that is going to the gym. Can you see that there is? You described it as utility. I would actually describe it as, I'd describe it as something positive, effective, good, because of for example, if you're stronger, it gives you more of a presence. You're able to defend your family. You're able to, say, pick up the shopping. You're able to play with your child. You're able to it helps with the experience of life. So how I'm just struggling to understand how that can be deemed to be that experience in itself, not in the totality of things. How would you deem that to be something of negativity?
Well, I mean, the pain. I think it's the pain that you experience doing that is negative, no matter what. It has a utility, but it's still pain. And I don't think that we'd be arguing in good faith to say that, suffering is a positive thing. It can lead to some better things in your life. That's for the person who's already experiencing those things, if that makes sense.
When you look at suffering, would you concede that we are viewing suffering using our smaller lens, our understanding of life and of experience? Often when we see pain and suffering, but when we ask the other person, they may not necessarily see pain and suffering like we're seeing it. For example, again, coming back to the gym example, somebody would say, you know what, I went there, I suffered and I struggled, I didn't like it. Yeah, therefore I came home and I'm not going to go there again. However, if he goes to another person who loves going to the gym, because again, the more you kind of discuss and you unpack this, you realize that just going to the gym, for many people, it becomes like once you get past a certain stage, you get a release of endorphins, you get confidence. I would argue that the positives significantly outweigh the minute nature of the harm or the negative that you get from there.
I mean, I think we all see our experiences as different. We all see different levels of suffering. Some see them as positive, some see them as negative, and we all have different values to our life. Some people really value being strong, going to the gym, pushing through that pain in order to have a more positive experience. But that doesn't overall say that, well, because this person views pain as a positive thing in these certain aspects of their life, that doesn't mean that suffering in itself is a positive. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that suffering has a utility, and it needs to. We have to say, we feel fire's hot, take your hand away from it. Suffering is a part of our genetic coding that is programmed in us to make us live. And I guess that's what I'm trying to say, is that suffering is necessary to make us live, but suffering isn't a positive. Suffering is created by life. It is an inherent part of life for those who are sentient.
But then here's where we kind of take divergent paths. Sorry to cut you. It's that on the one hand we're saying we both agree that suffering is a bad thing, of course, by its nature. But
It has utility, but it's generally a negative experience.
Of course.
Yeah.
So on the one hand, you're saying that, hence, as a result, we need to stop procreating, whilst we're saying that because nature is inherent, you need to learn to manage it and to control it, and there are ways to have a positive life experience, net value. That it is possible to have a net value positive experience than, say, a negative experience. Go ahead.
I mean, that's definitely where we suffer.
Yeah.
Definitely where we differ, because I don't believe that there can ever be a positive net value to life. And again, that comes back to what we had discussed before about whether or not we assign moral weight to creating joy. I mean, I think another way to think of it is let's look at sort of the best possible experience we could ever have and the worst possible experience. And both happen, on a daily basis. People experience extreme amounts of pain and extreme amounts of joy. Just because they, I don't see, if you could either choose between having both that extreme amount of joy and that extreme pain, or having neither, I don't see anyone in good faith actually saying, yeah, I'll choose, being skinned alive so that I can, be in love.
I'm just going to cover something I really should have covered at the beginning, which is what that kind of leads to, which is, are you calling then for the end of civilization as we know it?
Yes, in so many words. I mean, antinatalism is about sort of prescribing the problem, which is that birth and basically the DNA molecule.
I'm just going to move this hair in the middle if that's okay, yeah, because I think it's catching too much of it.
Antinatalism prescribes the problem, and then how we then get to solve it is, in an ethical way, is our
The
own
end of humanity?
Yes, so humans would, if we stopped procreating, of course humans would become extinct. And, I mean, I don't see what... Of course, there would be, things that would be lost, but I don't see that being a net negative.
So when you've got approximately 8 billion people on the planet, and they are going to obviously die because no one's procreating, isn't that causing suffering and?
Well, they're going to die anyway, and that's part of the an important part of the whole equation is everyone is going to die. Not only that, but we are heading, with the way that we are treating the planet, we are heading into a really, really horrible death for ourselves and for the entire planet.
But many things have happened before. There have been mankind has gone through peaks and troughs. There's been positives, there's been negatives. But this is it's a very pessimistic kind of view to say that because suffering's happening, therefore the solution of that is to just stop everything and just to allow us to kind of wipe each other out.
I think suffering is also a very minimalistic way to kind of look at it. And I think that we're all in a very privileged position to sort of say that that suffering, there's suffering, there's joy. I think that there are people out there who are suffering in really, really immense ways.
But then, what about the people that aren't suffering in immense ways? The people that
we all suffer, and again, I think this also comes down to the difference that we have in the fact that you believe that there can be a net positive, and I don't. And again, that's weighing all the positives of, the positive things that can happen in life.
So Sarah,
and whether or not that risk is worth taking.
So Sarah, what you're doing is you're basing it upon your kind of subjective experience, your limited understanding, would you accept that you've come to this conclusion based upon your limited observations? You haven't observed everyone's life. You
No,
haven't.
of course not. I mean, that would be absurd to say
Of
that
course.
I've observed everyone's life and I've experienced everything.
Precisely.
But, there are certain things that's the only way that we can interpret the world. I mean,
So the way we interpret the world that you've suggested is induction, which is a process used by science as well, which is you take your limited observations, and when you see there's consistency in there, you come up with a hypothesis. And that hypothesis is open to being refuted. It's open to being challenged. Would you say this is a hypothesis, or would you say that this is an end, an end kind of? Are you treating this like a fact or like a working hypothesis? I guess is what I'm trying to
it's a
answer.
philosophy. So it's a way of viewing the world, which I can't convince. I mean, everyone's going to believe that their
Of course.
hypothesis is right, no matter
Right,
what.
right.
And all I can do is convince you. I don't think it goes against anyone's values. Honestly, I think that it's if you believe that suffering is wrong, and that birth creates suffering, we're kind of halfway there. It's whether or not you think that something positive, more positive, can be gained through life than not. I don't see that being an equation that we should impose on others. We can decide that for ourselves, and if we could, okay, you can decide for yourself whether or not you want to live, but you shouldn't impose that on somebody else. Taking into account the suffering that they're going to cause others as well.
Where do you believe all of this started, and how do you believe everything started as you observe and as you understand?
Just everything altogether?
Yeah, I mean just the universe, earth, water, trees.
Yeah. I mean, I'm an atheist, if that's what you're going for. Believe in the Big Bang. There's a cosmic soup that created us. It was nothing intelligent. We came to be through just brute forces sort of mashing into each other.
So out of the options, do you believe it came from nothing? It created itself? I mean, you've said you don't believe that there's an agency, so I'm assuming there are two options. If there are more than these two options, feel free to let me know. One is that it created itself, the universe, or the other one, it was created from nothing.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I couldn't tell you.
No, this is
but-
not. This is again just like this is a hypothesis of yours, a philosophy of yours. I'm merely just trying to understand the mind of Sarah. I'm not going to pin you down and say, "Haha, I've got you." I'm not here to do that. We're just here to have a conversation and just share and exchange ideas. So I'm just trying to understand your worldview, because to understand where things are going, it's very important to understand somewhat the beginning as well. So would you say that from your understanding, from your atheistic understanding, it came from nothing, or it created itself, or do you think there's something else that possibly I haven't mentioned that you believe in?
I mean, I suppose it came from nothing. Nothing could exist before nothing.
So when we look at nothing by definition means the absence of something, isn't it? No thing means the absence of something, isn't it? So from nothing, something emerges. It's a contradiction, isn't it?
Sort of, in a lot of ways, yeah. I mean, we can't really know for sure. We can only
And that's
have
fine.
hypotheses.
Yeah, of course. But what I'm saying, yeah.
I mean, what do you believe?
I believe out of the three options, the inference to the best explanation is if we look at the universe coming from nothing, again, that's a contradiction. If we say that the universe created itself, again, that's a contradiction because it presupposes a universe, isn't it? So the universe created itself. So the universe created itself presupposes the term universe. It's like picking yourself up from your bootstraps. It's not really possible.
Yeah.
Or a mother giving birth to herself. So I'm saying that the plausible explanation is, and this is again through whether it's rationality, even philosophy as well, you got the likes of Leibniz and Kant and Aristotle. They didn't necessarily have an issue with believing that there was something at the beginning, that there was someone at the beginning of the chain. So for me as a Muslim, I believe that there is did that happen before when you guys were here? Okay, I think he's just making his rounds.